In April 2021, the Toronto Real Estate Board posted that sales were up 362%. And you might think, hey, that number makes no sense at all, because it doesn't. Well, my name's Tom Story, and welcome back to the Story Report. We're going to look over the Toronto real estate numbers for April of 2021.
The real estate expert, Tom Story.
Tom Story with Royal LePage.
Tom, good to have you in this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you've been here before, you know the deal. We look over the numbers, we discuss what's really happening behind the scenes. And as someone that's on the ground level actually selling real estate in Toronto, I'll tell you what I'm seeing on the inside. But just before we get into the numbers, if you haven't already, please click like on this video and subscribe. I'll wait. It's okay, I'll wait. Okay, you've done it? All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so before I go over the numbers here, I want to make something very clear that April 2021 numbers were only compared to April 2020. Now, if we remember April 2020, we were not going outside. We were very scared. We were told to stay inside our houses. And the only people that were transacting in real estate were people that absolutely needed to, meaning that in February or March, they had bought or sold and they needed to do the flip in April, and that's why it happened. Otherwise, people weren't buying real estate. So just for the fun of it, let's go over some of the crazy numbers. So year over year, sales were up 362%. There was just over 13,000 sales in the Toronto real estate market in April 21, and there was only 3,000 in April 2020. However, in a typical April over the 10-year average, there's about 10,000 sales. So compared to a regular April, we're still up 36% because the market's been really good, but it's not the crazy 362% that you're going to hear in the news. Also, something interesting is that the average sale price for most of the asset classes and the number of sales actually dropped from March till April. So it seems like there's a bit more rational thinking coming to the market, a little bit more inventory, and more than anything, I just think some buyer fatigue. Like, I think people were fed up with playing the games, and the market's getting a lot better. I didn't personally like the way it was. It's never healthy when it's moving like this. I like a kind of chug along, not move too quick, but keep going up nicely. That's the way that it should be. So let's go over the 4 different asset classes. For detached properties in the 416 area code, we are still trading at about $1.7 million. If we jump to the semi-attached properties in the 416 area code, we're trading at $1.3 million. The semi-attached segment of the market is probably the hottest segment of the market, just based on it being for freehold properties, one of the more affordable options for people, and especially that move-up buyer selling their condo with dual income, have equity from their condo. Everybody right now is trying to buy that semi from, $1 million to $1.2 million. Townhouses had a record month in April with the average sale price of $942,000. And then on the condominium side, so condos have officially reached back to their peak. So the peak of condos was February 2020. For April 2021, we're at $727,000. That is the highest that condos have ever been in the Toronto real estate market. And what's actually kind of amazing with the condo numbers is that it took about 8 months for them to fall 10%. And then when this year started, it took 4 months for them to jump right back up. So if you're looking for a deal on a condo, the time to buy was October, November, or December 2020, because those prices have now all been scooped up and they're back to the peak. Now, a few news and notes. So the mortgage stress test is changing for uninsured mortgages. So what that means, if you're putting down 20% or more, you will now be approved after June 1st moving forward for about 4 to 4.5% less than you would have previously. Now, these regulations are coming in and changing from what they used to be. And honestly, this isn't going to actually impact the market that much. And I've been told by mortgage insiders that when people are approved for mortgages, they only spend 80 to 85% of the money that they're approved for anyways. The people that it's actually going to hurt are the people that are not in the market. Like, first-time home buyers always get the wrong end of the stick here, and it's just not fair. So I feel for them, but if you're a first-time home buyer, I try to get something wrapped up before June if you can. If it's too late, that's totally fine. Just understand that your purchasing power before, if it was $100, is now going to be about $96. What's also funny is, by the way, this only affects people putting 20% down or more. That means you don't have insurance on your mortgage. So if you're putting 20% down or less, or 19% down or less, this will not affect you, which is kind of interesting. So it's also kind of frustrating where when I look at it just, from the bird's eye view, is like, if you've done everything right, you saved up your 20% because you don't need mortgage insurance, now you're being approved for less. It just doesn't really seem fair. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't necessarily agree. And now just some market update in terms of what I'm seeing on the ground level. So condos are still doing very well. They've had a big jump up this year, but not everything's flying off the shelf with 15, 20 offers anymore. You're starting to see more rational decision making and prices are making sense per square foot. The housing, the freehold market is still doing very well. You're seeing a lot of offer dates, but not every property that's now listing at $999 is selling for 1.3. Some of them aren't getting what they're looking for on offer night, and they're relisting at the price that they actually want. This list low strategy we do when there's less than 2 months of inventory, and as frustrating as it is for buyers, and I've done videos breaking this all down, the reality is it tends to work. And buyers are only willing to play this game when there's not a lot of inventory. But at this point right now, there's a little bit more inventory coming to the market. And I think a lot of buyers are just fed up and they just want the sellers to go, this is our price, come and give it to me, instead of playing the game. So that's starting to happen, which is nice to see. This is a better, healthier overall market than it was in the first 3 months. And just to finish this off, when I'm looking at price growth across the board, obviously Toronto proper, the 416 area code has been doing very well, but nowhere near have we seen the price increases as the surrounding markets. The 905, Niagara, Hamilton, I could go all around Toronto, the greater Golden Horseshoe have seen crazy price increases. We haven't seen that in Toronto. So we've almost been more insulated, probably because our prices were already higher, but the areas outside saw crazy price growth, and I don't think that's going to remain. That's just my own personal opinion. There was a moment in time when people were leaving Toronto to go get a deal on a bigger house for cheaper. I think at some point soon, they might actually hop in their car and head back because Toronto's looking more reasonable just compared to what the outer markets are now currently selling for. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you want to book an appointment with me on the buying side, the selling side, or just chat about real estate, in the description, my Calendly link is there. You can book in a time that works for you. Thank you for watching, and remember, home is where your story begins.